What was meant to be just another chapter in his amazing racing journey took an unexpected turn, claiming the life of one of the most promising racers, Swan Edwards. Join us as we cover the story of this rising star and try to figure out the details of that tragic day which shook the world of motorsport to its core. Swan Edwards was born December 6, 1986 in London, England, where he grew up surrounded by the world of motorsport thanks to his father, Guy Edwards, who was a former Formula One sports car racer. Swan spent most of his childhood at racetracks across Europe watching his father compete and learned both the basics and technical side of competitive racing. Unlike many other young racers who rely heavily on sponsorships, Swan's journey, or I guess you could say approach, was more of steady and relied on family support. His father was known for his thoughtful and cautious approach to racing, and he made a deliberate effort to let Swan choose his own direction rather than pursuing him in the sport. At the age of 11, Swan started karting, and it quickly became clear that he had a natural talent behind the wheel. Despite being the son of a Formula One driver, he didn't take the standard, straightforward route into high-level, single-seaters racing. In 2006, Swan transitioned from karts to cars and competed in series such as Formula BMW UK, where he gained some deserved attention thanks to his solid results and flashy moves. Then from the year 2007 to 2009, he raced in both the British Formula Renault Championship and the Formula Renault Eurocup, where he showed some remarkable performance by achieving multiple podium finishes. That being said, the path wasn't without challenges. As his climb towards Formula One became increasingly expensive, he had to make a strategic decision and pivot to GT racing in the year 2010. He started competing in FIA, GT3, Blancpain Endurance Series, and multiple national GT championships, where he quickly showed his adaptability across multiple cars and formats. In fact, this time period became one of the key chapters in his career, as it was also when he started building a strong relationship with Porsche Motorsport. Porsche valued drivers who could do more than just drive, those who could communicate feedback, work with amateur drivers, and represent the brand professionally. And Swan just so happened to check all of those boxes effortlessly. Just a year later, he became a regular competitor in the Porsche Supercup, which was known as one of the most competitive one-make series in the world, running alongside Formula One Grand Prix weekends. And by the year 2013, Swan was having the season of his life. He was leading the Porsche Supercup Championship with multiple wins and podiums. Those who knew him always used to say that his performances were calm, calculated, and relentless. Rather than aggressive wheel banging, he won races by managing tires, executing perfect starts, and applying pressure until rivals made any mistakes. Apart from sprint racing, Swan was also very active in endurance events, where he had taken part in some of the most demanding races in motorsport, such as the 24 Hours of Nürburgring. And he turned heads, he won the race overall and made his place among the elite group of drivers. To an extent, the Nürburgring victory cemented his status as one of the most all-arounder drivers, who was capable of night driving, traffic management, mechanical conservation, and teamwork over an entire day of racing. As his popularity rose, he got an opportunity to work on a 2013 film, Rush, where he served as driving consultant for actors. Then, by mid-2013, there was a widespread rumor within the paddock that Swan was on the verge of becoming a full factory Porsche driver. Everything seemed to be perfectly laid out for him, but sadly, fate had other plans. On October 15, 2013, 26-year-old Swan Edwards was attending a private track session at Queensland Raceway in Australia. In recent years, he had been balancing his life as both a professional competitor and a paid driving coach. According to his loved ones, it was his first time in Australia, and he was supposed to be a brief work visit before returning to Europe for other commitments. He was traveling alone, which was standard in such a profession, and he even shared some heartfelt posts through his social media after his arrival in Australia. That morning, he came to the circuit early, perhaps around 9 a.m., and conducted some small training assignments. He had been assigned to work with a 20-year-old Brisbane local driver, William Holzheimer, who was driving a Porsche 996 GT3. The session was more on the private and informal side, which was held outside of any official race weekend with no actual public event scheduled at the track that day. For him, it was supposed to be just another routine day at the circuit, but sadly, no one could have imagined the tragedy which was about to unfold just a few hours later. At around midday, perhaps just before noon, the weather conditions seemed ideal with no clear sign of rain and visibility issues. According to the media articles, Swan was seated in the passenger seat and was wearing a helmet as well as full safety gear. He started the session by giving one-on-one coaching during the first initial laps, and nothing unusual was noted early on. That being said, as their Porsche exited the preceding straight and approached the final complex of the circuit, something went terribly wrong. During that seemingly normal segment, their car was traveling at a very high speed, somewhere between 100 to 110 miles an hour. According to some experts, Queensland Raceway's final corner requires heavy braking before turning in, and under normal circumstances, the GT3's brakes would have easily slowed the car enough to make the corner. That being said, even after applying the brakes, their car left the track at turn 6, at approximately 102 miles an hour, which then further slammed into a tire barrier, then a concrete wall, and immediately burst into flames. Track marshals who were stationed nearby saw smoke and flames almost immediately after the crash, and since it was a private session, there were fewer personnel on hand than during a major race weekend. That being the case, responders didn't waste any time and acted immediately by using handheld fire extinguishers to control the flame at the engine bay and cockpit, while desperately trying to reach the occupants. However, the situation was harrowing, and the car sustained severe damage. According to some witnesses, the Porsche had driven deep into the tire barrier, which had crushed the structure, particularly on the passenger side, where Swan was actually seated. And after what seemed like 20 to 30 minutes, when the fire was finally brought under control, emergency crews were able to access the cockpit. Both of the occupants were carefully evacuated from the wreckage, where they seemed in unresponsive states. As medics assessed Swan's condition, it became clear that it was already late, and there was nothing they could do any further. And just like that, a few minutes later, Swan was pronounced dead at the scene. He was just 26 years old. On the other side, William was found in a critical state, but still seemed to be breathing. He had suffered severe trauma as well as burns and was stabilized at the scene before being airlifted to the nearby Royal Brisbane and Women's Hospital for further treatment. And although he survived with some serious injuries and months of rehab, the same could not be said for Swan. The official cause of Swan's death was later revealed to be the catastrophic injuries to the head and chest, which claimed his life almost instantly. In the aftermath of the crash, Queensland police secured the area and all track activity was suspended for the remainder of the day. On Monday, in February 2015, an inquest was held at the Brisbane, and its findings were later made public, where it became clear that what was initially believed to be driver error was ultimately ruled as mechanical failure. According to the coroner investigation, during that day when William applied the brakes while approaching the corner, the car had failed to slow down to the expected speed. The inquiry later found clear evidence of brake system degradation, particularly at the front end of the car. The braking components were severely worn, well beyond what would be considered as safe for repeated track use, and this was further confirmed by the testimony from their mechanic, Thomas Giori, who remembered a small conversation with Swan just a day prior. He had informed the mechanic about the brakes feeling a bit spongy and soft. The mechanic further stated that he inspected the brakes afterwards, and at the time, Swan was satisfied to continue driving. During that moment, when the brakes were applied to the car, the speed fell down into the range of 70 to 90 miles an hour, which was still uncontrollable for William, who was still an amateur driver. Further investigation also revealed that the gravel patches around the racetrack, which are used to slow down stray cars, might not have been properly maintained. In fact, Fair Work Inspector Graham Bell later visited the park, perhaps after 2 or 3 days, and stated that the gravel pits didn't look as if they'd been properly raked. Swan's mother, Daphne McKinley, who couldn't make it to the inquest hearing, watched the inquest through the online platform Skype. "I'm extremely traumatized by his death. I'm relying on the coroner to make recommendations, if necessary, to ensure something like this would never happen again to anyone," she said in an interview while expressing the safety of drivers. When the news of Swan's untimely passing was made public, it sent shockwaves through the motorsport world. In fact, within hours of confirmation, tributes started pouring in from every corner of the racing community. And what made the loss feel especially heavy was the sense that Edwards was not only a rising star, but someone who deeply was respected as a person. Very sad to hear about the passing of Swan. My thoughts are with his family and friends. Jenson Button, the Formula One world champion, said while expressing his grief. His funeral took place in the same month, or perhaps at the end of the month, with the exact details intentionally kept private so that his family, friends, and colleagues could grieve without any public exposure. Rumor has it that many fellow drivers, team representatives, and figures from across the motorsport world attended to pay their respects and offer their condolences. The family has been overwhelmed by the support and kindness shown from across the world of motorsport, his father said, while thanking the community. In the days that followed, Formula One and GT race weekends held moments of silence in Sean's honor. In the events, drivers wore blank armbands, while others placed simple decals bearing his name or initials on their car, which was like a quiet tribute to one of the sport's most promising talents. In the months that followed, Sean's name continued to surface through both controversies as well as reflections on standards and private track sessions and vehicle preparations. Even today, many drivers see him as a symbol of what modern motorsport could be when talent is paired with humanity. Looking back at his life, it's clear that at just 26 years old, Sean has already lived a full racing life, built with respect and his love for the sport. And that respect shaped how he drove, how he coached, and ultimately how he was remembered. He often used to say, "You don't need to be wild to be fast. You need to understand what the car is telling you." Rest in peace, Sean Edwards.